Hey y'all, glad you came. Welcome and welcome back. I'm Monique, a pre-nursing student over the age of 30, and this is where I discuss my recap of my semesters. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about my recap of my last two prereqs, which were Anatomy and Physiology 2 and Microbiology, and I am done. Happy to say I am finished. Complete. With everything that is required for me to be able to apply for the nursing program. So let's get into the conversation. Okay. Now, these courses I took were, like I said, microbiology, anatomy, and physiology 2. All right. So this is my micro binder here. So cute. I just love a little micro binder. And then I have my anatomy and physiology binder here. Okay. Yeah. So there you have it. All right. So, yes, one might wonder, what in the world? That is a lot of information. Yes, it is a lot, but it can be done, especially when you enjoy it. All right. So, first of all, you want to know what I made. What did I make? Did I pass? Okay. I passed. Okay. So I did pass. That's the first thing. And I did make the grade that I wanted to make. I had my heart set on B's, that is B as in boy, in both of these courses because that is the grade that I could reasonably make while still being an adult and still living my life and still putting other things first besides school. So yes, I did get a B and I'm so happy with that. Now I will say that my microbiology class did, definitely challenge me, and I did not know if that B was going to come my way, but it did. And we'll get into that. But first up, anatomy and physiology 2. All right. So this was a continuation of A&P 1. I really enjoyed my professor. I enjoyed the course. My favorite part of the course was the cardiovascular system because that is everything. With no heart, there's no body. And so I enjoyed learning the ins and outs and the deepest, most innermost workings of how the cardiovascular system works, from the capillaries to the veins, the blood vessels, the aorta, the ventricles, all the things. The, bicuspid valves, the tricuspid valves. We could go on. But it's so cool to see the inside of the heart and to see the workings of the heart and what is pumping through you, what is pumping through me as I'm speaking to you in this moment. And just to know how wonderfully we are made and created and how all these wonderful things are going on inside of us that we can't even feel necessarily until something happens, until you're afraid and you really feel your heartbeat and things like that. But there's so much. There's so much. It's a wonder we're able to do other things, right? But that's how we were wonderfully made, and I love that. And so anyway, that was my favorite part of the body. That was my favorite organ. There were other parts that I enjoyed too. I did really enjoy learning about the hormones. Now, that was a big one too because, man, those hormones are some serious chemicals in which I found that a lot of the hormones that we read about and studied and tested on were things that I'm familiar with because I work in the pharmacy. What's so interesting is that many of the things, if not all of the things in the pharmacy that we distribute to the floors for the nurses to actually then distribute to the patient are already inside of you. So these hormones like epinephrine, norepinephrine, okay, very powerful. It already exists inside of you. And it is used externally to then be used internally to do the very same things that it does organically inside of you. Hopefully you follow that. So yeah, I mean, it was just amazing. If you love A&P 2, let me know in the comment section. It can be kind of difficult to pass those lecture exams. Yeah, those lecture exams are interesting, but those labs, love them. I love naming the parts of the body. And so anyway, I really enjoyed that. So hormones and the cardiovascular system. The lymphatic system was really good too. That was good. But I have to say what stood out to me the most was the heart. Yeah, I was really excited about that. So I'm really glad that I got through it and really made good grades in that particular section as well. I passed everything in that section. Now, did I fail anything? There was one system that I could not wrap my head around. And it's not because I couldn't. It was because I didn't give myself time. I'm going to give you a tip. When you get to your urinary system, take your time because there are numbers and letters there. A little bit of math there. Okay, a lot of things going on with those kidneys. I'm telling you, kidneys are very, very complicated. The lab was, I had the lab, got that. I know where everything is in the kidney, but honestly, if you ask me to really break down the urinary system, I would have to go back because I did not give myself enough time. I found it all very interesting. Like, some of the things I loved was the fact that the kidney just, it has so much going for it. And to have kidney failure is something that we know and people get dialysis for, but it's a long time coming before you get kidney failure because of the amount of nephrons you have in your kidneys. Okay. So these sheer numbers that you're dealing with is like, wow, it really takes a lot to break down a kidney. Of course, a chronic disease can do that as well, but void of a chronic disease, breaking down the kidney is a very a long job. Okay, so it's really cool to learn about how urine is made and how it comes out externally and what happens. Yeah, those things I enjoy, but there were some more things in there that were complicated because they were so similar. So yeah, I would definitely say take your time in that. Do not think that it's just urine. Like, do not be like, oh yeah, I definitely know this. No, you probably don't. So yeah, study ahead of time. For me, like I said, I should have probably studied a little bit more ahead of time for that. But I rushed that particular section because I got overconfident because I was doing really well in every other section, and I thought, oh yeah, kidneys, we have that. No. Mm-mm. So yeah. That's the only thing that I actually retested on and made a better grade. So yeah, but let's see what else about anatomy and physiology. Besides that, I did use some more tools this time. So I did use, I think I shared this in my last video. I used Quizlet. I used Quizlet this time around to quiz myself. So people use Quizlet for different reasons, but I used it to actually create my own test. And so I could put my information in and then create a test from my class, my information. And that proved to be very helpful when it came to lecture exams. And I'm carrying that right into nursing school. And then I also discovered different ways to make study guides. Now, here's the thing. I have probably tried every study guide in the book, pun intended. And to be honest, the way that I learn the best is writing. It's writing. That's why when you see these videos of nurses being in school and it looks like 10,000 words on one page, it is. And I'll show you what I mean. So I usually make my notes really pretty as well because that's just the person in me. But pages. This is the endocrine system, the hormones, like I was telling you about. So yeah, and what I learned was that what I like to do is I like to get plain white paper, like so, and I just start my own system of taking notes. Okay, so hopefully you guys can kind of see that just a little bit, right? So once I start my system of taking notes, that's how I learn. That's how my brain breaks it down. I have to break it down in order to build it back together. And I do that through writing. So throughout the entire semester, both A&P1 and A&P2, I learned the best and I learned the most. And I made the best grades when I took time out to write out things for me in the way that I understand them. And I would write out from the PowerPoint. I would not write everything on the PowerPoint, but I would organize the thoughts from the PowerPoint, in a way that was like chronological. Okay. So that is that. I also made up my own mnemonics. I did not use any popular website for that. I know there is one, did not use it, did not need it. I made up my own because that's how I'll remember it. And so if you're interested in some of my mnemonics, you can definitely ask. I have a few of them for different things and I'll be glad to share them. But anyway, that is anatomy and physiology 2. So yes, moving on. Microbiology. Microbiology, wow. It's in the name, micro. You can't see it. It's not macro, it's micro. So you have to have a microscope to see what you're looking for, which is kind of cool you know, but I mean, it's it's a lot. So the thing about this class was it was structured differently. So the class was structured a little bit differently from what I'm used to. I think I got a little bit too relaxed because we didn't have as many lecture exams. We only had a few compared to my A&P. I'm used to having a test every week. And in micro, I did not have a test every week. However, I wish I would have, because by the time you got to the end of the time, like the amount of time that you had between tests, by the time you got to the end of that, it was so much to remember. So, and not only that, but it's not stuff you talk about all the time. So it's not stuff that you've ever known. And so it's all a new introduction to your brain. And so your brain is trying to categorize these things, and it's trying to file things away. It's trying to make, you know, algorithm pathways for you to learn, and it's just a lot. Okay, but I did enjoy it. I knew some things that, about some of the scientists and the doctors that really made strides in the microbiology world, such as Dr. Ignaz Semmelweis. Now, this particular physician and scientist, if you will, was someone who figured out why women and their newborn babies were unfortunately not living past birth. It was because of the contamination in the way that they were being handled by other physicians, meaning that the physicians were actually doing something that was, a part of their job on one end, but then coming in to give birth on this end and carrying those bacteria and those germs from that assignment to this assignment. And if you don't know, do the research. I mean, it's really interesting. But the doctors were basically working on unalive bodies and then coming over to give birth to these babies without washing their hands. Now, and this is the part about microbiology that it's common sense, and it really helps you to see the limitations of man. It really does, because something as simple as washing your hands could have saved hundreds, most likely, right? Anyway, Ignaz Semmelweis figured this out, made the connection, and while they did listen to him eventually, they resisted him at the beginning. And unfortunately, the end of his life, wasn't the most positive. Again, you can do the research, but no doubt it has something to do with the way that he was, treated when he tried to say, wash your hands. And I share this because when you are thinking about nursing, or maybe you're going to be a doctor, whatever you're going to be in the medical field, there's a gut feeling that people get about things, right? Like you get this feeling this person's not doing well, they're not breathing well, they're not the same as they were, something has changed about them, something is telling you something is wrong, right? This is why it's really important to listen to that, because many times you probably are correct, okay? And don't ever underestimate the importance of nurses and nursing and just support staff overall, because within this story about Ignaz Semmelweis, he made the connection that while the doctors were having trouble keeping babies and mothers alive after birth, the midwives were not. And the midwives were not physicians. They were midwives, yet their, babies and mothers were living. What was the difference? You see? So maybe in that situation, it's one of those things where they just didn't deal with unalive bodies. that wasn't their job. All they did was, not all they did, but what they did was deliver babies. So anyway, it really just speaks volumes to the importance of working together on a medical team, the beauty of what teamwork looks like, the beauty of learning from one another. No one's superior or inferior. Really, in healthcare, that's damaging, because that damages the patient at the end of the day, with people thinking they're better than because they went to school longer. Um, so there you go. I feel very passionate about that. So yes, Ignaz Semmelweis is a great person to look up and learn some things as far as how that whole thing went on. And again, that's something that I knew before taking this class. So to learn more about what he discovered and how he discovered it. And then the beautiful thing too about it is that these scientists, microbiologists, these physicians, they would all just continue to perfect the knowledge that was given before them. And so while Ignaz Semmelweis figured out to wash hands, there were other people after him who then perfected that. And so then we have to today, we have very sterile environments when it comes to giving birth in hospitals here where we live. And so and again, that's not everywhere. That's here, you know. So yeah, just very, very interesting stuff. Yeah, and that's in the first chapter. I mean, you get into some really interesting things and discoveries in the first chapter. Moving on, you know, you go into more of, you know, bacteria and fungus and getting into gram positive and gram negative, really separating viruses, diseases, and again, while you think you may not be as familiar with microbiology, as you get towards the end, you realize that you are living microbiology because we've had pandemics, as we know, epidemics, you know, different things like that. So you start to learn the meaning of these things and, you know, what it really entails of, and really you kind of learning backwards because you've actually lived it yourself. And so that is something that was kind of cool as well. The gram positive and gram negative was kind of cool as well to see that in lab. You know, just to learn the different scientific names of things that we just call strep throat, you know, we call a cold, you know, different things like that. So to learn those biology terminologies was fun. I'm glad that class is over. I do suggest, though, I did take that class online and I did have lab as well, but I definitely suggest taking microbiology in person. That's not one I would say to take online because you really want to be in a classroom where someone enjoys what they're teaching, because I feel like microbiology is a very emotional subject, and I feel like it's something that a person would have a hard time teaching without passion. Because even I didn't necessarily, you know, love every aspect, but here I am talking to you about it passionately, right? So imagine someone who did. And so I do think that microbiology in person would be something that's advantageous. You know, now again, if you have an online class that has a good curriculum and a good syllabus, it could be beneficial, but I really think it's good to really be in that conversation every single week, because given the way that my class was set up, to be honest, I thought about microbiology right before my test, right? It wasn't something I thought about every single day or even every single week. I thought about it when it was time to take the test. And so, yeah, I do think having it on the brain, you know, is good every single week. So yeah, that's just my little 2 cents. So A&P to really pay attention to the urinary system, and microbiology, if possible, taken in person. The next thing, I'm trying to think anything else. Oh yes, the test. Oh my goodness. Microbiology really had me going because I would study, and I kid you not, I would get into the lecture exam and the first question I'll be like, what is this? What is, like, I don't, where was this at? So what I had to do was I had to learn what to study. So we did have study guides, but the study guides were so long. But once you got into it, I figured it out that they're actually, they were not long. They were just split up in a way that looked like they were long. And so that being the case, once I kind of got over that hurdle, that mental hurdle of what it looked like and really, you know, getting into it, that is when I started really passing my tests consecutively, right? So just thank goodness for learning how to learn microbiology, and you will take it with you in nursing, because one thing I'm never going to forget is C. diff, okay? Clostridium difficile. We're not forgetting that. We're not forgetting C. diff. We really don't want to ever deal with it, but let's be realistic, you probably will. And so, you know, I wrote papers on that. Oh yeah, there was a paper to write too. So keep that in mind. Sometimes in science class, it is a lot of lab and lecture, but you may have papers too. So I had a whole presentation and a paper. So yeah, my presentation, I got a 100%. I will say that. So that is that. But that's it. That's all I have. So if you guys enjoyed A&P and microbiology or did not enjoy it, whatever, let me know your experience. Let me know your grade if you want to share. And again, I'm always open to making, you know, different videos about my experience. That's why I'm here, to really give you the tea, as they say, or to give you the truth about what it's like to take these classes, guys, you will finish. You will finish. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I know that when you first start, it is challenging. It is difficult. You cannot see the end of the tunnel sometimes because you're in the tunnel. But I finished. I did it. If I never went any further than this, I finished the prereqs. You can too. And it does not feel like what it was. Again, I was balanced. I like my GPA to stay above 3.5, anywhere between 3.5 and 4.0. And so, I've got to keep that up. That's my job, right? And so therefore, if you're doing something that's jeopardizing that GPA, you might want to take a step back and slow down, because one thing for sure, you will have patience waiting for your expertise. Okay? So you don't have to rush. You don't have to rush. Just take your time, all right? That's my biggest suggestion, is take your time and really get the grades you want to get. So yes, that's all I have for today. And I hope you guys have a peaceful and productive rest of your day. And I will talk to you on the next upload.